When's the statue being built?
I got to be honest.
We've said it on the show. Like, just do it while he's still an
We are
active player.
trying to keep the Deer District like so pristine, so high quality. I don't think Giannis is attractive enough to really to put into a statue.
Welcome to another episode of the Thanalysis show with your one and only Thanasis Antetokounmpo and Tony C.
What up, what up, what up?
Today we have a special guest. You all know him. No, you actually don't know him that much. And I really want to set a little bit of spotlight on him, but he's been the guy who is behind the success.
Everything.
The Bucks have had the past almost a decade past now together. But before we go to him, want to thank our sponsors. Remember, always it's Thanalysis, presented by Gruber Law Offices. One call.
That's all.
That's all. Want to thank Potawatomi Casinos and Hotels. Whenever you come to Milwaukee, that's where you want to stay. They have great food, great services, and you might win some money. So that's always good. I want to thank Prisoner Wine Company. They're amazing. When you get a chance, get a bottle from them. And last but not least, I'm loving it. Back to the program. Today we have a special guest, and you know I have to give him the intro. So, from the Milwaukee Bucks, the president, Peter Feigin.
You haven't seen the announcer intro up close, have you?
No, but I could listen to this guy get excited and talk like all the time.
All day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to the show. Thank you so much I've been wanting to do this for a minute, but I really wanted to get you on your height of success and on your like.
So you picked a week after we lost?
No.
Yeah.
No. But I want to say, obviously you've shared this, and I want to say it publicly too. You don't understand how much you've really helped me and the family and what you've done as an individual for this community too, right? Not just the sport and the Bucks and the basketball side of it, because you tend not to really want to get in that turf, but what you've done for the community and the infrastructure and the business, right? And the business of Milwaukee. What is the thing you've learned throughout the years? Because you were president here, but you were still with New York and before us, like you were in the mix of being with teams, being with ownerships. So I really want to ask you more about your journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything begins and ends with people. So we're in the people business. We happen to be like an NBA team. It's about a team. It's about a team on the court, behind the court, and everything. So culture is a big deal. So how do we create a culture which is all about behaviors, which is all about, I think my role is to kind of set that example, to be the example of the pulse of what we care about, what we focus on, what our goals and objectives are, and then make people accountable, as part of that. So that's kind of and then for me personally, it's kind of having fun with a purpose. So we want to win championships on the court. We want to grow our revenue in our business, but at the same time, selfishly, I want to have a really good time.
Yes. That sounds just like the NBA.
Yep.
That's just like the NBA.
Want to win, but have some fun doing it.
Yeah. So where were you before the Bucks? Where would you?
So I took a quick, my career is pretty simple, sports and entertainment. I started at Six Flags theme parks. I went to Madison Square Garden. I went into private aviation and ran a company called Marquis Jet, and then went to NetJets. I had a quick stop at Deluxe Entertainment, which was production company, global production company around the world. And then during that time period of 2 years, I met with the owners of the Bucks who were looking to purchase the Bucks, and I became one of their consultants to purchase the Bucks, and then angled my way into wanting to be the president of the Bucks as they acquired them and ran the operation. So in a nutshell, always been involved. I'm a sales guy. I'm a marketing guy. Learned operations. Learned kind of the P&L and controls, but always been involved in being aggressively about growth, aggressively about the people.
So were you a basketball fan then throughout that time, or?
Yeah, I mean, if you had caught me, 15, 20 years ago and told me I was at Madison Square Garden, I was kind of running marketing and partnerships, I would have said, you can end my life now. I'm the happiest guy ever. I was a Knick fan growing up, and I was a kid who was incredibly an executive at Madison Square Garden, and that kind of it hit it as like a fantasy.
Nice.
And then this job comes, and it's like the lifetime lottery.
And then you also said, Tia, real quick, just you worked with Six Flags.
Oh, yeah.
Parks, favorite roller coaster?
Well, I'm like an old school. So the Great American Scream Machine is, they've got a version of it in Gurney. They've got it in New Jersey. But think about your highest, fastest old wooden roller coaster, which is like you're in pain when you get off of it. That's
just shakes so much as you're going up and down.
Shakes. You're scared. It's like velocity kind of dips and turns. Those were the fun ones for me.
Gotcha.
You know what's so interesting? When I first met Mr. Peter, I loved him right away. And not because of the basketball and stuff with the Bucks, just because how he is with his family. He has a twin brother, by the way, who looks just like him. Oh, and I remember I met him for the first time. I was like, he looks more serious. The first time I met him, he was like, but then I was like, the more I interacted with your brother, and I was like, okay, they're the same. They look just like the same. I think like people who don't know you, they will see you in the first time, and they'll think he's a little bit serious. And
yeah, I think like it's a good balance because we both have very close families, and that kind of gives the balance of how we trust and how we have like fun and how we laugh. I mean, there's not a time where if I get him and his brother together, I am on attack. Like I'm gonna go nuts, to get it. But it's just kind of that total trust and fun that we can have, and at the same time talk about like where we want to go and what we've got to get done.
I do. It's crazy. Like we just tweeted that you're gonna be here, and it's like
we've never really done that before. We usually wait till after the episode is done to tell people we have a guest.
Yeah, and we just had this, and then people are sending their questions. I was just reading them, but it was so interesting how this is the thing about. I don't think people understand the business and the people, and how much role a big importance it plays, and then obviously talent and the ability to do the job, right? I mean, obviously, you've been here how many years now with the Bucks?
10 years.
10 years, decade, bro. A decade with the Bucks.
Time flies. I feel like you guys just took over not that long ago, but yeah.
Well, it's been so much fun and such a great run.
So this is my question was going to be like, what changed, right? What changed between the Bucks or the Bradley Center and then the Bucks or the Pfizer Forum? I mean, on the court, obviously you could say, Giannis, this, that, all this, but what changed in the business side of it, like in the other side?
So the whole mentality of like, of raising the bar, continual improvement, more importantly, like to be the leader. Like, how do we don't think of ourselves as a small market? How do we do things on the media side? How do we do it on the marketing side? How do we do it on the analytics side? To be the innovator, to be the leader. We're not the second, third smallest market in the NBA. We're a global brand. And like, listen, we had these unbelievable milestones, right? We bought a team. We opened an arena. We won an NBA championship. At the same time, we've had like the ascension of this global superstar, who happens to have, from Europe, from Africa, like you couldn't make those. But all those together is like, how do we create and make it almost like an accelerant, bigger than it could possibly be? And the way you do that is like, the sky's the limit. Like you just keep raising the bar. You hire people and you work with people who think differently and kind of, I'm a delusional optimist. So I think like there's no problem we can't solve. There's nothing we can't do. Like if we get really smart people around and creatively think about what that is. And that's the same about the business and the team. Like you'll see like all of social media is like, what the hell are the Bucks going to do? And I'm like, oh, we're going to have like fun because like, we're up against the wall. We're like constrained with like salary. We've got players, but we're going to like, John Horst is going to circle the wagons and like, we're going to solve like for like to be the best team because it's the mentality we have.
People are going to love that quote. We're going to solve it. That's
no. This is the thing. And always, obviously, I've said this, like, I think the common trait that a lot of people who are good, really good in business and good business leaders, because there's a difference between being good at business and be a good business leader. That means you inspire people want to work with you, work for you and with you, right? I think they have that trait. Like they're all optimistic. There's no problem we can't solve. We just put our energy and time into it. We'll figure it out. This question I was gonna ask, like, how do you guys determine it goes and hike up the prices in tickets? Like, what was it? No, seriously.
Did you read the questions?
Yeah, I'm reading the questions. Like, how do you determine?
So
you
think
go
about
like,
it. Some of it's basic supply and demand. The other part about it is like, Yeah, it's really expensive to run an NBA team. Like we happen to have been in the luxury tax. We've taken like real losses like over years to get it done. So part of it is like you want to supply like the greatest experience ever. You want a highly competitive team and you want to create like value for that. So for us, it's a matter of like continually creating value and like does that translate to the end customer to get it. And here in Milwaukee, I can tell you like it's so price conscious. You know, like people are really care about the price and it reflects like if you've gone too much, like you will lose, you know, season ticket holders, you will lose. It's something we think about every day. It's something we think about price point, like where do we get? And as a business, we want to continue to grow, you know, as much as we possibly can with a real sensitivity to like that pricing. So, you know, you think about price increases because your costs go up because you continually want to grow.
I love what I love what you guys do with the packages too. Like it does bring so many people like that, you know, they couldn't afford a lot of multiple games during the season to watch them and with the packages.
I tell everybody all the time, something for everyone. Like there will be affordable like $10, $15 tickets to now. If you want to argue with me about the first 5 or 7 rows, like that's not the reality. That's where the real supply and demand is. Like, by the way, nobody understands the economics of an arena. Like 85% of the revenue comes like in those first 7 rows of the arena. So like those tickets are the most valuable, have them rightfully so. You know, that's an experience like you can't get. Now for the rest of the arena, how do you really create like an opportunity for everybody to experience it like in a big way? And that's what we try to do. Like whether you're buying 1 game, 5 games, 41 games, like that's like really the science of like, how do you figure this puzzle out?
So I want to go back to, you said you've been here a decade now. So I grew up in Milwaukee, so I experienced the Bradley Center at its peak, if there ever was one. But when you first get to the city of Milwaukee and you see, you know, the Bucks, you see the Cousins Center, you see the Bradley Center, what was your honest first reaction to what everything looked like?
Shock.
Shock?
Yeah, like I just hadn't experienced it, and then I was like, what? Not, this is the opportunity of like, there's people don't even get what's going to happen.
So that's that.
People don't even
optimism.
Get it. Like we will 3 years from now be in a place that you couldn't even imagine. In the state of Wisconsin, you will build the destination that nobody's even fathomed. Like the greatest finished experience, the physical plant that doesn't exist. Like in the state, fans will go nuts. The concert business will completely be revolutionized because you just couldn't do that in the Bradley Center.
For sure.
So like this unbelievable opportunity. So, you know, I saw this very distressed team, brand, culture. And the only thing you think about that is like, oh my God, you're only going to go one direction. You're going to crush this.
So do you take pride in a sentence like your role here with the Bucks? Like the Bucks saved downtown Milwaukee. I think being from here, I can say that just like seeing what it was and seeing how there was one bar across from like a arena that was falling over. They were thinking about moving the team. Like the Bucks now the Deer District is incredible. Like the Bucks really saved the city's downtown.
I mean, the only thing we don't have is a tailgate, like on a.
Man, can you imagine Bucks fans after a good tailgate party? Whew.
Yeah, in the district, we should like set it.
No, we should do it on the roofs of the parking structures. Like we think that'd be fun.
You give me permission to bring a grill to the roof of the parking structure. We'll have a party.
Oh, it's funny. We talked to our friends at Johnsonville and talked about getting their rig. You know, they're like to literally do it. I mean, we think that's the. You know, the problem is we happen to play during the winter. You know, like it's not the greatest, even though the Packers have. Like,
but it's Wisconsin. We'll figure it out. We do
figure it out.
Yeah.
But I mean, think about the Pinnacle. Like, listen, like you can get tens of thousands of people in the Deer District. Like we had this opportunity to create like a meeting place and a destination in the middle of a major city. I don't know if another team will ever get that. Like again, with real acreage to create it. So it just was like one of these unbelievable plans. And you know, credit to our owners who basically didn't kind of question it. They were like, this is what we're doing. Like, we're going to transform the city.
That's what happened.
It was amazing. It was amazing. So, now moving away from the Bucks, like, what is... Like, I've seen a lot of people want to get hired, like, their interns, they come to the... You know, they're applying for jobs with the Bucks, or in every level, right? Sales, marketing... but I've seen one thing that I don't know if other teams have it, but I've seen you guys have a department for real estate. You have a department for like different just things that in the community. Like, Why is that? Is it because you guys are just weird? Because I do believe that the Bucks are more than an NBA team. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, listen, to be successful, like you have to have organization, you have to have process. We're probably one of the city's largest developers, whether it's residential, commercial, certainly like entertainment. You know, we're just about to open up in 4 or 6 months, like a Live Nation venue in the district. So
that only 4 to 6 months away.
Yeah.
Ooh, that came quick.
Yeah, so for us, it's kind of like you got to really support the disciplines and kind of have that infrastructure around it to be able to grow. So I'm always kind of about the plumbing, right? Like you need unbelievable plumbing to have the infrastructure work. So how do you build that? And that's a lot about people and kind of vision and the resources. So for us, like we're a large business. We have about 300 full-time employees that are everything from facilities and about 1,500 part-time employees that help light up the arena and the district and the restaurants and the bars. And, it's a full-fledged, operational place.
How does that work? Like, so the people who work in the arena, right? What happens after? Like, do they work the arena the whole year?
They work the arena for about 140 plus events, to get their hourly on what it has. So the key is more is more. The more we can kind of fill that arena with content, the more that they're able to work. But we've completely redefined, kind of that labor. We've created a $20 minimum, hourly when that didn't exist in the city, didn't exist in entertainment or sports anywhere to get in. So, for us, that's part of the growth too. It's like, how do we create family supporting jobs in like a big way? So I will say the most incredible thing about the Bucks being in a market like Milwaukee is like we can affect change. Like we can literally, like the things our players care about, the things the team cares about, whether it's healthcare, whether it's voting, whether it's inoculation during COVID, like those are things that on the NBA platform, like we actually make a difference. I didn't get that in New York City. Big market teams can do 1,000 things, but they're kind of buried within a big city, or a big media market. Here, we feel like we're a vital part of the fabric of the city.
Outside of the championship, is there anything that you've been like most proud of? You just listed all the things the Bucks have been involved with on like kind of the humanitarian side. Was there something you're personally most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, never in my life have I kind of given birth to like a building. So the day Fiserv opened up and, maybe we had our first concert and I wasn't a Killers fan, to begin with,
that show. And
that, now that song comes on and like, I almost like my heart skips.
Mr. Brightside is now your karaoke go-to.
No question. But I will say, like, listen, like, the magical, nothing compares to winning the championship. That was like losing air in your lungs. Like I was with my family, the culmination. I always kind of smile when other teams or other people talk, and I was like, oh, call me when you win, because that's kind of like that. Nothing.
That's like a defining moment for everyone in Milwaukee. Yes. Like people will forever talk about it. It was 4 years ago now, pretty much at this point, but it still seems like straight up yesterday, like because it was that unbelievable, like just the way everything played out in 6. Like,
and we live it. It's our lives. So Thanasis and I mean, you can't even explain it. Like we live it.
It's unbelievable. I'm so grateful and blessed by God. Like I'll never take this for granted. Do you and this is okay. Obviously, this is more personal question, but like think about the other league. How many presidents are there with no basketball background?
Well, it's a smaller group. So think about, say all the leagues have, 90 teams between, if you take baseball, football, basketball, 120
so you go NBA.
120 pro teams if you take hockey. Mm-hmm. So take out the people who aren't family, who own the team, who run the team.
Yeah.
That's a whole big group. Take out like who the professional, kind of basketball, folks are. Like it's a small group. Like I was able to play high school and college when kind of going up, but never on a professional, basis, never the experience. So it's a small, rarefied, unbelievable group. That's like when I got this opportunity, I remember talking to my friends saying like, this is insane. Like you're one of 30, But it's much smaller than 1 to 30 because
it's much smaller.
half the jobs aren't even available to like non-family members or anything. So,
because I mean, obviously, you want to put somebody in charge who actually will care so much for it. That's going to do an amazing job. That's why I say you have so much respect for coming in and really earning the steps between your job, from your job to everything. And now I want to say one more thing, for people. Just to say, you always give credit to everybody. So this is 2-3 years ago, and I'm in Mr. Peter's office, and I go like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a show, podcast. I gave a couple of teammates names. I was like, maybe I'll do it with him, with that. He was like, yeah, whatever. What do you think you want to call it? I was like, yeah, we'll talk. And we're throwing names, and we go, Thanasis World, Thanalysis, and then we go with the name Thanalysis. Yeah, me and him.
It was very good. Well, we talked at a breakfast on the road, like before he had a shoot around to coffee. And to get Thanasis to focus is like a pain in the ass. Like it's
not.
It's like okay, let's talk about it. We can do this. But this was awesome because it put all of our worlds together because it was Craig Karmazon. It was like how to build structure. He was doing this like on his own. I mean, it's really kind of like an unbelievable case study of like how to grow a brand, how to like position, what to do with a personality. And I'm like, I just added fuel to it because I was like, oh, you're insane if you don't think you can blow this up. Like this can be, let's use the team, let's use the brand, let's really promote this. You need a great producer, you need a great coach, and like to Thanasis' credit, and I don't like crediting him or anybody in his family with anything. Like this is like from embryo to growth. Like this is incredible. Like to kind of build like a media brand.
Yeah,
I've told him this before, but now knowing that you're the brains behind this whole thing, in the world that I was working in with radio and live radio, like professional athletes have approached, been like, hey, I want to go into podcasting. How can I do this? Blah blah blah. And the amount of people, I'm just like, it's just not for you. Like because they want to show up for 30 minutes, they want to talk and leave. Like it's simple as that. TA was different, and that's how the show grew into what it is today. Now we got sponsors.
Well, I disparage TA and I disparage his brother, his whole family. But to know them, it really is impossible, like not to love them. Like it literally is. That's what people don't understand. Like introducing these guys to anybody is like, whoa. Like just so you may not get things, but to know Thanasis, and I don't talk about this like about anybody, like to do it. No, it's like one of those like special traits. Like at the same time, you want to choke him to death. Like you kind of would hug him at the same time.
No, he always says that because he's always says like we try to make stuff difficult. That's why he's saying.
Guys, no, never. Wait, before we get that, you mentioned his brother. Yeah. So I checked the questions, and we got to get to the important stuff here, right? Yeah. The stuff everyone is wondering. When's the statue being built?
I got to be honest.
We've said it on the show. We were just like, just do it while he's still.
We are trying to keep the Deer District like so pristine, so high quality. I don't think Giannis is attractive enough to really put into a statue. I think a lot of people he thinks he's this Adonis, and I think he's kind of awkward looking. I don't think a statue would be good.
You heard it here first. Breaking news.
Oh my God! You know so crazy. On a serious note, he would like cry, bro. Like I think he'd cry from the bed.
I mean, first of all, you don't even understand. I would use the statue. Like I would, he would be. And by the way, you're talking to the wrong guy because I know. I'm young. Like these guys are like, we've been together too long. Like they know they can take advantage of me because of how much I love them, like in a big way. But
vice versa. Vice versa.
I would build like literally like a statue park of like
all the moments,
just to have fun, to get in.
What you should do is when we eventually do this is like a mini one, like you unveil it and it's just like smaller than the Ivers.
I do think the funny statue stuff of like the terrible Beckham, the weird things when they unveil the jokes of statues, like I love those.
Those are always fun.
Okay, so now like what is next? Like, so how do you approach every season? I'll give an example. I get the basketball side, and we're not going to talk about trades, not trades, players, whatever, because it's not just you. We can't do injustice to other people who are involved in that process. But like now saying like moving to every other season, when it comes to the business and the Bucks and the community, like how do you think about every season? Do you go back and look at season before, or you like, no, this year we want to do something new? Do you have like a roadmap of where we're going?
Absolutely. So you do both. So you certainly look back at like best practices, right? Like what do we not do? What do we do bigger and better? What are good examples? I mean, it's a great question because like the reality is, you know, when you lose in the first round of the playoffs with a high expectation team, it is a real challenge, you know, and Tony and I were talking about this before, like it's a business disaster because like nobody understands everything you sell, tickets, partnerships, media happens between January and August. Like once you start the season, once you tip off, 95% of your revenue is sold. So if you stop playing basketball in April or May, you have a terrible time selling because the customers' minds, the fans' minds are not on like basketball. If we have a huge playoff run, like that is the greatest thing that could happen to the business because you are like, when interest is the highest, when people are going crazy, you are selling everybody into next year and the years after to get in. So when you talk about the performance and not having long runs in the playoffs, like that puts a real challenge for like the business side of like, how do you create demand and excitement and everything else?
How do you handle that though?
Well, for us, like it's all about kind of like, we're lucky because we have owners who have made it very clear they're willing to invest in like having a competitive team, right? So you don't have to make excuses and you don't have to say like, listen, we are going for the best like we can possibly do. And then like what you do strategically is you think about starting the sales process sooner, like what the incentives are, how to customize the offerings more. I mean, we've gone from, you know, kind of season tickets or individual tickets to, you know, now like the end user can really customize a package, you know, whether it's four games, 6 games, 10 games, you know, kind of where they want to be, what their things, flex plans to get it. So the whole market has kind of changed for the behavior of the customer. But yeah, it's like challenging, and it's really challenging in a small market. You know, it goes back to pricing. It goes back to demand.
What was our attendance this year? What was the team's attendance this year like?
Just under like 17,000. So great, you know, like, but really
That's
like
crazy.
It's got to be top, upper half of the league.
yeah.
I'm
So
sure.
really fighting,
Yes.
you know, to get that and to do that. And the difference is like, listen, we're 17,500 people like in the arena. If you're 1,000 people short, that equates to $1 million, you know, millions of dollars in tickets and food and beverage and parking.
How many people did the arena can fit?
17,500.
So we're at 17,500. So we're basically full house.
Essentially, yeah.
We're sold out every game, almost.
Almost, but
Wow.
we've got.
Well,
place
there was
to
like
go.
cool stuff you guys did during the season too. Like I want to say it was the day after, or once the Lakers officially announced the Luka trade. I got a text from I don't know some Bucks like thing that's connected to my app, and it was just like see Luka live, and it was tickets were right there, super convenient. I was just like, yeah, they're doing something right here because yeah, I purchased them. So
Yeah, no, we've got, you know, it's all in real time.
Mm-hmm.
It's all like market sensitive. The way like, you know, kind of the social and digital has happened, like you've got to understand pricing and demand like by the minute
Yeah.
to really be successful. So that's kind of where the whole business has evolved. And then on the marketing and positioning side, like you got to create value. Like coming to Fiserv, win or lose, should be a great experience. Like no matter what. So we think about all the things service wise you think about, right? Better be the cleanest bathrooms. Like the food's got to be warm and good. You know, like our employees have to be friendly and welcoming. Like we should have cool gear. You know, like in the stores, all that stuff matters. You know, it's like 1,000 points of contact to create that unbelievable surprise and delight experience because you've got to create that valued experience.
if there was one thing you can improve about that experience, what would it be?
I'm the wrong person to ask because
Wrong person,
every day I'm like up at night thinking about it. Like, I mean, like, you know, the woman who runs our retail business, the person who runs our food and beverage, like probably wants to just murder me on the side of the street. So I think there's always like good room for improvement. I think like, you know, we should always be innovative. Like there should always be fun things to get it. If I'm not around people who are constantly going to other arenas and thinking about good things, going to casinos and thinking about what they're doing for their best customer. Like, I love that stuff. So
I get it. We just did Thanalysis Live about a month and a half ago. Then there was another similar event in town a couple weeks ago, and I went to that one like taking notes. What can we do better? What did they do differently? Just like it's competitive. It's not on the court competitive, but like it's your way of being
I do
competitive.
it when we go to visiting arenas. How do they treat the visiting team back of house? Like,
I think first of all, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I think we're one of the best hosting teams in the league
for visiting teams.
Yes, yes.
And I think that's part of our value proposition, right? At least in my world, like we want to be the best.
Yeah.
You come to Fiserv Forum, like you don't have a bad thing to say. I always say the only thing you can ever criticize us for is the weather, and we will control everything else. So if you're a player, we're going to resource the hell out of you. We're going to make you family. And by the way, we're going to resource your family. We're going to be like a supportive group to do it. We're going to be a place that you want to be, whether it's the practice facility or the arena, or like you feel comfortable getting help, because like we're an infrastructure, like nobody understands like how challenging it is to be a pro athlete or a pro athlete's family, like nobody. And that's a big deal. How do we handle that the best? That's a big, those are things we care about.
I do think people think you just show up on game day, play a game, and just hang out the rest of the time.
No, 100%. They do think that.
I wish we could get everybody on a team on a team trip, like on a 2-day road trip. So they land at Mitchell at 2:30 in the morning, have to get back up, figure out like what the travel is. If you've got young kids, like what it means to like take them to school to get it in, and that it's like your 8 or 10 month journey to do it at the same time, have the pressure of your performance, money, expectations. Like it's
basketball
a real
is just different. Like the back-to-backs, the turnaround. Like I asked TA once, I was like, bro, when do you actually sleep? Because you'll see they land at 3, hotel, and 8 a.m. text like, hey, what's going on with this? And then like baseball is different. You're in a city for 2 to 3 days at a time. And football, you only travel 8 times out of the year, and it's generally Saturday, and then you're out right after the game. So like basketball is just a whole different beast. Like it's pretty incredible to see the day to day, especially with like things like Netflix, like taking people behind the scenes a little bit. It's kind of cool to see.
I was going through the questions and the tweets, and I just found out through the tweets that we have a gaming team.
Yeah, we had a gaming team. So the NBA gaming's like kind of on a break, but we're the world champions. We won the NBA 2K like world championship. So we are world champions in 2
I'll
NBA
take
sports.
It. So why do they? Because
they're revamping it like on a league level to kind of figure out how to centralize it and do it. So we were running the teams on like, over 20 of the NBA teams, each had a team. And now they're going to kind of centralize it from the NBA.
But are we still going to keep the team? Or are we still going to keep the same guys?
We probably won't run the team. Like I think the league will have like a group of teams that will go. We're waiting to see what it is.
I lived in Minnesota for like one Wolves season and was doing media stuff there. And the way you walk, everything, because it's so cold there, everything's connected. So you walk through these buildings. I remember trying to get to the arena one day, and it was like a massive crowd of people. And I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I was trying to weave my way through. And they had a gaming tournament for, I think they're Wolves Gaming. They were like behind glass windows. And it was, I think it was 6 guys in there gaming. And it had to be 500 people like standing, trying to get a glimpse of these games.
We've done small scale League of Legends. It's a
look at that. They just tweeted now. When are we going to have a war zone?
Right. No, it's it's the deal. All
gaming
stuff,
tournament.
All stuff like we're working on.
I don't know. Which one? Okay, so apart from like the events, apart from basketball, do you guys actually deal with other events as well at the Fiserv?
I spend 30% of my time on everything from the NCAAs to concerts to hockey tournaments to the circus to Disney on Ice. Like you got to think 40
on Ice, huh?
40 of our events, 41 to 40, for our NBA games, and the other 100 are others. And the concert business is its own animal, and that's got its own infrastructure and promoters and companies to deal with. And then, the other events, and how do we build everything from, boxing to gaming to other things. So content is what we're thinking about all the time.
142. Like I'm not like a math whiz, but that's like 40% of the days in a year.
That's crazy.
So like it's not like we have to do 140 events, and it's not, but like that's almost every other day. There's something going on.
Well, and you also don't have 365 days because like you have a Drake concert, it takes like a day to build in.
Oh, that's true.
So
yeah,
a Drake concert's 2 days. Like the operational part of it is interesting. But for us, like more is more, and how do you keep getting better, and how do we position Fiserv and Milwaukee as like the place and the destination because we're a little bit smaller of an arena. So we've got to make it like, again, just like we do with basketball, like the most attractive place to be. And we do that like back a stage too. Like how do we cater? What do we do? You know, for the artist, how do we make it special? So we think about all that stuff all the time.
What's your favorite non-basketball event to host?
Well, I'm like a basketball nut. So the NCAAs, like, you know, when we've got, you know, the round, you know, the couple days of NCAAs is a pretty awesome event in a big way. And then like, you know, our concerts are kind of cool, you know, in a big way.
We do have cool concerts.
We've got an unbelievable venue to watch a concert. You know, I always convince people like, don't go to Chicago. Like you want to come here because it's a little more intimate. It's great. Yeah. The sound is incredible to get done. And I'm like, I'm not the right person because I go nuts about everything. I love, you know, I love when it's active. I love the diversity of content. I get a kick out of the whole thing.
Nice.
Do you have another team that is in the NBA that you go like, they are doing it the right way?
Yes, all the time. So like, I think like, I don't think anybody does it all together the right way, but I think they're bits and pieces of like really well-run teams. You know,
which one?
Like, no, I think like they're great things that Miami does. They're great things that the Clippers do behind the scenes in technology and ticketing. Madison Square Garden and the Knicks do unbelievable things together. I mean, that's what makes the NBA so great. Is I always say it's like so collaborative. Like I can steal people's homework because we're not competitive on the business side because we're in our own markets. We're competitive on the court side. So you can really take best practices. So I have a group of like 6 or 8 team presidents that I like hold on to, like very strong to ask advice, opinions, whether it's on local media deals, whether it's on sponsors that we have in common, you know, whether it's directionally. And it's like such an advantage because other team presidents I know in other sports like don't have that. Whereas we've got a peer group that we can talk to all the time and like a bunch of really well-run, you know, smart operators.
So 3 leagues here. I want you to tell me which one you think would do best in Milwaukee. WNBA, NHL, MLS.
Boy, that's a tough question. I would say they'd all have a challenging time, like in kind of building market to get it in. And I think like probably low hanging fruit. Like I would probably, for diversity of content, love to see like an MLS.
That's
like
the one I honestly
you know,
think that one would do well.
I think
here.
with like our kind of like our diversity of kind of like the communities and like what you get, you could probably get some. Yeah, and there's not that big. You know, you can build like a 30,000 person,
easily,
you know, kind of stadium and build some excitement about it. I think NHL would be really challenging, and WNBA is challenging besides Indiana.
Gotcha. The summer ones to me are the ones that I'm just like, they sound very cool in theory, but Milwaukee is such a...
Not in this market.
What do you mean?
Because people want to be outside because you only have 100 days.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you only have 100 days. It's nice weather. So,
yeah, but I mean, with all the other things going on between the Summerfest and the things and, you know, like budgets that are stretched, like the idea of a summer thing could be cool, but if it's indoors, I really struggle to think, I don't know if it would work.
I totally agree with you.
I mean, it would work for the business side of it. At least you might have some, it depends on which league, right? Obviously. But so now my next question was going to be this, right? Let me give an example. That we go through the whole season and people come to the arenas, they watch the games. Do you have a specific, let's say, people who are like, let's say, season ticket holders who have been here since, I don't know, like who are those people? Who are the people that you like?
So we have 11,000.
I want to hear that story. I want to hear that story.
We have 11,000 season ticket holders.
Really? 11,000,
you know,
bro.
Maybe 1,000 of them have held tickets over 20 years. Maybe 500 of those over 25, years. And then maybe you've got a group of about 50 that have had 30 years or more. I probably know all of those guys individually, to do it. We do events, with those people all the time and kind of access. Because part of this is like, how do you cultivate that fandom? How do you create value? How do you do like the importance of like having access to the players and do everything? So, and it really goes to like your connection point, right? Like, so how do you build that engagement and that relationship with them? So yeah, the season ticket, the loyal fan who comes to the arena is the most valued asset by like leaps and bounds.
If someone kept their season tickets from like 2003 to 07, hook them up. They are as loyal as humanly
the
possible.
best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you say that, Tony? Why do you say that?
Because we sucked those years. So they got Eastern Conference Finals in 01. And then I think there was a couple 8 seeds mixed in there. 09, Jennings got them to the playoffs, but bro, it was rough. It was rough here for a minute.
I mean, you think about people in today's world investing in 41 games to come to have tickets. That's a big deal. The world is kind of complicated. There's a lot of competition for disposable income and kind of entertainment. Those are, beyond valued folks.
And that's why, when I tell you, the way how much this means to a city, but when I say, having seen those teams and for those season ticket holders too, if you put up with those years and then you see now a very competitive team year in, year out world champions, it really just means that much more, honestly, in a weird way, that they're still there.
Yeah. Have you ever had and obviously if you want to always, if you feel comfortable saying, but you ever had a situation or story that had to that really, really was hard that, that you had to solve, that was hard for you and you was this happens every other day, but something that you had to solve for the team, and you solve every other thing every other day, but
yeah, you have to think about everything from somebody who think they had a bad service experience to people who don't like what we stand for, on a social basis, to people who are upset about the pricing. So you're dealing with those kind of objections or those complaints all the time. But, I always find, I might be a little too close to this, but I call them. I probably make a couple hundred calls a year and they are in such shock when I call that it kind of diffuses 50% of it. And I'm very honest with if we have screwed up, which happens in service, we serve 750,000 people. Unfortunately, we are going to screw up, own it, give them, kind of beyond the apology, how can we make it up for them? And just I always say, it's the folks I work with. I truly believe there's not one person I work with who is maliciously out to get the company, get the team, to do it. Same with our service and everything. There's no one, we are not trying to make a bad experience. If something messes up, it is a mistake, and we got to solve it to do it. So part of that is our customer service. And by the way, we have a whole department that handles everything, and it sounds trivial, but lost and found. How do you handle injuries and medical problems? Those are all big things. How do you handle drunk people? That's a real thing. You want to talk about our concert business? There are 4 to 5 people who are obliterated, drunk, and we've got to keep a safe environment and kind of help them get medical care or
during the game. This was a question I was wondering all the time. I was in Europe, people don't really drink in the games. They go to the games and they'll be fans. They'll be more rowdy, obviously, right? But they don't really have this entertainment aspect of the game. So being in Milwaukee and being in the NBA and generally sports in the US, you would see people drinking and having fun, etc. But what happens when it becomes too much? That was another question I always had.
Then it becomes a Brewers game. That's really what it is.
You react immediately. So what you don't want to be the face is the way we have security, the way we have ushers, what our process is, and you want to protect. You're always worried about protecting all of the fans and the audience.
And them actually, and themselves.
For
sure.
So you have to have a real process to extract them. It sounds like a big deal. And by the way, we think about what we have to deal with, with players' families, right? Players' families are in the audience, and you have a fan from a rival team talking crap about their kid, or talking about that becomes an issue. You know, how do we diffuse that? So all these things are things if you're good, you learn from, but you certainly have on your radar screen to
So you've gotten calls before then, hey, this is happening.
Oh, Thanasis, we get post every event. There are 3 or 4 episodes that sometimes are huge, sometimes are small, but there's no way you bring together 17,500 people and don't have issues.
Did you hear the story, TA? And you might have heard this as well. During Game 4 in the Pacers series in Milwaukee, Craig Karmazin, who is the president of Good Karma Brands and also minority owner of the Bucks, got in between Halliburton's dad and Bucks fans that were getting into it in the middle of the game. he told the story on the air, so I'm not like speaking out of turn here. He said the Bucks fans were on one, right? So they're shouting over at Halliburton's dad, and everything was pretty smooth. And then the two parties started like coming together a little bit. And Craig, who is 5'0" and just gets in the way and says like, "Hey, let's diffuse the situation." And like it got a little tense there for a minute, but he diffused it, and everyone went along their merry way. But
bro,
he told the story.
I'm not gonna.
Just like,
you know what? I'm just gonna keep this about the Bucks and the Mississippi there because I don't want to get into this, bro. Yeah.
Hey, this was not that interesting. This was different.
No, but you know what I mean. So it does. You do have a role of like being this leader and figuring in every aspect too. Good things go good.
The pressure of like being the example.
Yes.
Like, kind of being the calm in the storm, and kind of that's the pressure.
Yes.
That's the pressure. So I always like a lot of people talk about leadership. A lot of people talk about like. All the same stuff. I've got the same anxiety, the same nerves. I report to like people who are like very intense and very smart. And sometimes you feel like an imposter, like how you're doing your job. Like those are all, I think, normal feelings and to get it. But your real responsibility and like what people are looking for you for is kind of like guidance and leadership and resources to get done. I always say that's what the energy, suck for me is like, I got to get up and like be on. I've got to, that's the responsibility. Like when you run something, or manage something, it's like, yeah, that's part of your job. Like, I get paid to do that.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. I do. I mean, obviously I do have a couple of questions. What is next for the Bucks if you want to talk about basketball, cool. If you want to talk about the business side, obviously it would be unjust to talk about basketball, but what is the next thing for the Bucks? Like, what do you see the team business-wise, community-wise? Like, what's the next
I was going to say we're going on TikTok, on Shopify. I'm very excited about that. Yeah, you're talking bigger picture. You're talking bigger picture, like to go. Yeah, for us, it's like how to figure out the puzzle so we're championship caliber on the court. How do we make this like continue to raise the bar on experience? We also have hundreds of millions of fans who, less than 1% ever get to Fiserv Forum. So how do we engage those fans around the world in different languages, in different content, in different fun stuff to like keep their fans going? And then, my big challenge is how do you monetize that? How do you take these millions of fans and figure out how to grow your business, whether it's through intellectual properties, whether it's through media, whether it's through partnerships, and really kind of make this physically the destination of choice. And I feel like I'm not just the Bucks and Fiserv Forum. I'm like one of Milwaukee's big cheerleaders. Like, this is like the place. But I think the challenges like never go away. Like they just keep getting bigger. It's kind of like, how do we figure this out? How do we make it? So you got to be able to have a mind like to solve the problems of the day, and then to also kind of think of vision and think of the roadmap to like what's next.
So I have two questions left. Two questions we ask every single guest who joins the show. The first one is, are you a fan of candy?
I'm a fan of candy. So that's a rhetorical question. I have been forced to support this company because of the brothers. I've had an unbelievable experience. We've gifted all of our staff. We've gifted like all the participants of our foundation
event.
And you name it. To do it. So I'm just going to, I apologize. Oh, see, this is very smart. You're gummy centric. I love the gummy bears, sour, the sweetest.
No,
so this you had to talk. You had to talk to Sarah.
Asked.
You had to talk to someone who.
We have sources.
Yeah, this is like too customized to get in. I mean, the problem is these guys. I mean, you're aware of these, like Thanasis and his brother are so cheap, are so messed up. Like, I'm sure I'll get a bill. I'm sure I'll get a bill.
You're getting the bill
These
for sure.
guys who have made millions are in 1,000 ventures, of which they share nothing. Like, are literally cheap. So cheap. Like, I will somehow get a bill for like a box of candy. And by the way, it won't be like a normal bill. It'll be like an inflated, awful like bill.
Non-itemized receipt
Non-itemized,
too. It's like,
right,
hey, this is what you owe us.
We'll fill it out later. No, I'm joking.
Which, because of the collective bargaining agreement, I cannot pay for. So I will tell you like right away, I cannot give them
That's
a benefit.
True.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh, but I'll tell you one thing, and you don't understand. Like, you as a person, and Bucks is one thing, but like even just you as Peter, like how much you've helped this team. How much you've helped this team on the court, off the court, everything, and the players and the families. Because like when in the beginning, Mr. Mark and Mr. West, and now Mr. Jim, everybody like trusted you with you doing this, doing your job. They are in good hands, and they know that somebody who not only cares about them and what the owners are gonna do, but cares about the people in the community, cares about we're talking about even the prices. You're talking about like we want to make it attractive. We got to make it for the community, and trust the players and make it good for the players. That does not happen, and people shouldn't take that for granted. And I'm sure you would love so many other more things to do, and you don't get the chance to do them just because you can only do so much as a as the president of the Bucks. But like you are like one of the pillars of this team and the community. I'm telling you, it's real. I'm
I
telling
always
you.
say when the owners have had enough of me and they say like you're gone, which is your anxiety and whatever happens in like a high pressure job. The one thing I'll say is like, thank you. And by the way, you will find a smarter person. You might find somebody who's better at this, and this, but you will never find somebody who cares more about this team, about this brand, about this business, about the city. Like you will never find, like, I can't even believe I'm saying that. Like if you told me at this point in my life, like I care, and that's part of like why it's so great to be here. Cause it's like, this is, the day it's not fun is like the day, I wouldn't do it anymore. So, it's the environment, it's people that set up. I mean, it's a little bit different for us to talk because it's such a different, like, it's a challenging like family, but at the end of the day, like it's a really hard business to trust people. Yeah. It's a really small world to get it. So when you connect internally, it's like a whole different vibe of like
it's hard.
What the Bucks are about, because you could say whatever you want. We can bring in other players. We can do, but like we've built like a base that is just much different.
It's hard. And you see it, we trade and stuff like that. And you remember, like I said, like as a player, you'll always understand the nature of the business. But as Thanasis, it's exactly what Mr. Peter says. Like you're a family, and it's always challenging, and you understand. Like okay, some days guys will be here, might not be here, all these other things. But at the end of the day, you've connected with so many people and had this journey. We're talking about. I've been in the team 6-7 years, and over a decade. Thank you so much, Peter. You are the best. You should have your own show actually. And just kind of, especially.
Stop trying to give my job away here.
I'm just saying it because of the bit. Like they don't understand how much he brings to the table, and how much, and not only his ecosystem and his networking and people he knows, but he himself, his experience, his intelligence and the way he approaches people. Because I think, a lot of people have paid millions and billions into research and the scientists and the algebras and we're going to the space and the next cure, but I don't think a lot of people have invested into people who are emotionally intelligent and know people. Like that's a skill. That's you cannot learn that. There's a lot of people who are very talented. They'll be like, oh yeah, I'm talented, but I have money. But you can't talk to nobody. You don't know how to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't know how to.
And that's like why, like, I love to hate this guy. Because he's, like, we could say anything you want, but like at the end of the day, we probably think the same way about 100% of the people. We understand people we can trust. We understand people we could laugh with. He roots. I mean, listen, I always say like, great character and everything. I mean, you say whatever you want about Thanasis. Thanasis roots for everyone. Like you talk about a person, that's why he'll be so successful in kind of growing this, because like people who are selfless, like this guy cares about everyone and wants their success in a non-bullshit way, like, which is like what makes him, I always say it's the 1%. Like the world is like really good, but he's like, it's like the 1%. Now, I will say his brother is not. His brother is the opposite. Selfish.
He always knows it.
Selfish.
He always knows it. No.
Unappreciative.
He's just saying that just to say it on me. Oh my God! Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for what you've been like really complimentary, but I think you do realize, but you probably don't realize what you mean to this team and what you mean to this city. which has now been global to the whole world. So like the fact that
Thank
you're
you.
able to put a bright light, and you realize how important that is, like, and like how big that can be, like that's a big difference. Like you're like a positive. Like I always kind of talk like, if it's not additive, it doesn't matter. Like, you're additive. Like that's a big deal. So like, I think like, and we've had so much fun on this run. Like it's been like the success of everything is like, can just have all these different tentacles, which is cool.
Yeah. That is, and that's how you end the podcast. Thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for your kind words.
Right.
Thank you so much for showing up in the show. Thank you so much for being part of the community. Thank you, Tony, for like being able to make this happen. First of all,
Of course.
and again, please, guys, don't forget to please follow Mr. Peter Feigin. Whenever you see him, give him a fist bump, a high five. He's
Go
really
Bucks.
go Bucks. Yes. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Wherever you find the show, we're available on every platform. You guys are the best. Keep sending your questions. From now on, whenever we get a guest, we'll always tweet out and let us know about your questions. You guys are amazing. Thank you guys so much for supporting Thanalysis. Out.